Well, good evening and welcome to NEWS9. I'm Bansy. Investigations into the mysterious murder of Sheena Bora have led to some truly startling revelations. Perhaps the most shocking of the revelations was the paternal mystery of the murder victim. And that has raised serious questions on the incidence of paternity fraud, many cases of which have come to light in Namma city.
Indrani's relations with her two former husbands and the alleged instance of rape by her stepfather have kept the cops guessing over who the real father of Sheena Bora is. That is one among many other questions. Every day, another mask is peeled off and another shocker is coming to light. All of the revelations point to the fact that Indrani had good reason to be deceitful and in denial of her family history. Let's take a closer look at Indrani's family to get an understanding as to what could have led to the killing of Sheena Bora. Indrani's mother Durga Bora married her brother-in-law after her husband allegedly ran away after Indrani was born. Upendra Bora, the stepfather of Indrani, is said to have forced a physical relation on her that allegedly led to the birth of Sheena. Another mystery is the paternity of Mikhail Bora, who was born long after the separation of Indrani and her first husband Siddharthas. Indrani then bore a daughter Videhi with Sanjeev Khanna. She then married Peter Mukherjea, who was already the father of Rahul and Robin. With such a complex family background and shady family history, it's now a little simpler to understand why Indrani chose to forge a fake identity for Sheena. Money a motive. What is also worthy of mention here is that Sheena Bora was a shareholder in INX Media, founded by Indrani and Peter. Sheena was rumored to be dating Peter's son Rahul, who was also a stakeholder at the time of her murder. So, was the retrieval of Sheena's shares a dispute that led to the murder? But if you think that the case of Indrani Mukherjea is one isolated one, then think again. Are you a victim of paternity fraud? No certainty in paternity. Even in a city like Bengaluru, many shocking cases of cuckolded marriages are coming to light. A NEWS9 report.
Well, joining in this program are some experts, but before that, are you a victim of paternity fraud, or do you know of any such cases where the true paternity was hidden from the child and the family members, or even from the father? You can call us on 223-60304 or 223-60305, or you can text us on the numbers on your screen. Well, to talk about this, first we have Dr. Dominic Dixon. Now, you are a psychologist, an expert on sexuality. And next we have Aishwarya. You are a young Bengalurian. And then we have Dr. Savio Pereira. Now, you are a man fighting a case of paternity fraud in the case of something that has happened 30 years ago.
Yeah, related with a murder.
Related with a murder. And then we have another young Bengalurian, Shrunga. And then we have Mrs. Pereira. You have found out about this paternity fraud, Mrs. Roshni, and you are fighting it. So we will go into the nitty-gritty of it in some time. But before that, let me come to you, Dr. Savio. What is this paternity fraud? It is such a technically loaded word. What does it mean by paternity fraud? All of us know who our fathers are. That's what we think. What is this paternity fraud?
Not so. Actually, science tells us. Science is. I'm a product of medical profession.
Okay.
And one of the first things forensic science tells us is,
Okay.
maternity is a certainty. Paternity is a matter of dispute. So, however harsh that may seem true,
Okay.
but a scientist always has to be careful.
Okay.
Now, we have already given a proposal for a paternity fraud bill, as I'm a counselor in CRISP, Child Rights Initiative in Shared Parenting with Kumar Jagidar.
Okay.
We have already given a proposal which we had given to Rajya Sabha for a proposed paternity fraud bill, where we are alleging that paternity fraud is a crime against men done. It is not that only women are victims. We have seen the domestic violence. You are aware that for the last 6 years we have been raising various issues which initially which were not accepted by society. But now the society is willing, because of such cases like Indrani Mukherjea's case. People are becoming aware of the seriousness of the issues which we had raised earlier about shared custody and paternity fraud. Now, paternity
Doc,
fraud.
you're going away from the topic.
Yeah, let me come back.
Okay.
No, on a broader canvas, what was important to.
Okay.
Let
Now,
me-
in this instant case, you spoke to us about some very startling revelations into this. None of us looked at it in such detail. For example, you looked into Indrani's behavior and you said there is a family history of this. Why do you suspect that? And you also revealed her name was Pari, which means
Angel.
angel or fairy. So what do you mean by that?
Basically, there is what is called a generational learned behavior.
Generational learned behavior. What does this mean?
So there are two aspects. Either people have something which they have, their looks, which are because of their genetics, and there is a generational learned behavior because some people have escaped with certain acts of adultery and promiscuous behavior, and technically they have been shown to be rewarded by society. So when they see their parents do such an act and get away with it, the next generation also follows that. There are classic cases where this was, I have written about this paternity fraud.
Okay.
There is a specific blog which we have written mainly for paternity fraud, where Eric Clapton himself, a famous musician, he was brought up thinking that his own mother was his sister till the age of around 14 years. And he thought that who was his grandparents was his, who he thought was his parents were actually his grandparents. And he wrote only after, at the age of 50 years, he found out that his father, biological father, was a Canadian war veteran, war hero, who was not a hero in the real life, who was in Britain and who has impregnated Eric Clapton's mama when she was only around 16 years.
Was he illegitimate?
He was illegitimate.
Okay.
So now it is many times.
Now coming back to this Indrani case, as we understand, as things stand, it looks like Miss Sheena Bora is illegitimate.
Bora, yeah.
Sheila and Mikhail.
Yeah, because it's...
One is an incestuous relationship according to her, and the other is a straightaway adultery. I mean, how do you look at that?
Basically, Indrani, Pari Bora was a very promiscuous...
Pari Bora is Indrani's maiden name?
Maiden name. So, at a very young age, she has had 2 children, which shows that... And she was in a live-in relationship with this man. And there was one more person who's a High Court lawyer.
She was in a live-in relationship with this Mr. Das.
With Mr. Das, who has come forward.
He's the first husband.
He's the second... he's the live-in...
He's the first husband.
Not the husband. He's not married to her.
He's not married to her. It's a live-in relationship.
It's a live-in relationship. The first...
But Sheena is not his child.
That is, she's alleging.
But he
claims that she's the
Sheena
father.
is his child.
Yeah.
He's a child.
He's given the specific date of births also.
Okay.
So
now Mikhail, you're telling us, came 19 months after the split.
after the, which she has given an affidavit in the court of in Calcutta, in Guwahati, I think she has given an affidavit, whereby she has said that she has separated from Mr. S. Das on a particular date. Now Mikhail Bora has been born 19 months after the alleged date of separation.
So it is obvious it's a case of adultery because she's not married in that time.
She's, technically it's a premarital relationship.
Yeah.
Adultery will only happen once a person is
Married.
So the
So
technical
she is in a live-in relationship with this Mr. Das.
Or an illicit relationship.
Okay. So both these children are out of wedlock.
Are definitely out of wedlock.
Okay.
So she wants to now, she has moved on and she has married another person.
Okay, Doc, I want to know this. What right do we have to know about someone's personal life? These are questions people will ask. Would you like to answer that, Mrs. Roshni? What right, what business do we have with who's having a relationship with whom? What right do we have? I mean, people will like to ask that. All these sleazy details in the media, day after day, day after day. It's like, you know, all the dirty linen out there.
Yes.
Mrs. Roshni, how do you respond to that?
In Pari Bora's case, what has happened is that the rights of Mikhail have been infringed because he is being followed. A hitman has been hired to kill him. Now, I have been a victim of such a situation in my own life, where 4 years back a hitman was hired and
To get rid of you.
to murder me. Yes, and he has definitely he has been caught by CCB and is now in the courts, and the trial is well, it hasn't yet begun, but the police in Karnataka are not so.
You are a victim of paternity fraud.
I am also a victim of paternity fraud. My father has disappeared when I was 2.5 years old, and now till this age I am
Your
asking.
father was a medical practitioner. He
My
was a
father
doctor.
was a surgeon, yes. My
He was a
father was a
surgeon.
practicing doctor in the Karnataka Medical Service, a government doctor,
government
serving the
surgeon.
Karnataka government service. And and fortunately, I was able to find out all his records through the RTI Act only after 2006.
Which
because
means
the
he had
act-
died 30 years by
He
then.
had died in the year 1975, and from then, from a very young age, I have been told a lie. I've been told a lie that he met with an accident.
So
and
30 years after his death, you found out the truth.
36, now it's 40 years, yes.
It's 40
Today,
years after his death, you found out the truth.
I have found out the truth simply because nobody wants to accept a missing complaint in the police station. The moment you say missing, they would like to have some other substitute to hoodwink the truth. And the police of Karnataka, I'm sorry to say, still are behaving like as if Karnataka is a police state. 1975 may have been a time of emergency, and Karnataka was a police state at that time, probably. But now they're still continuing to behave like that. They do not take a missing complaint seriously. They don't want to
You
get into the
yourself
truth.
walked into a police station to
Yes.
register a complaint
Yes,
against certain people
Yes.
about your father's mysterious death.
yes.
And did they accept that complaint?
They did not accept it. On the other hand, just like Mikhail Bora faced, they wanted to prove that I'm mad. They colluded with the accused.
What does it take to prove a person is mad?
Exactly.
Because two things are very easy to prove, they say. One is to prove a person is mad. The other is to prove a person is of loose character.
Yes.
Very easy. I mean, you can say it about anybody. Okay, what did they do to you to say you're mad?
Well, every statement that I made out, they have tampered with it. The police.
This is in your official police complaint.
In my official police complaints, and today it has become a yeoman task trying to convince the judiciary that these statements that I have made to the police have been tampered by the police themselves, and therefore after we have taken it seriously with the
How
higher
can they
ups-
tamper with your complaint? Because your complaint is a written complaint.
because no, oral and written, it can be oral or written.
You have to just sign.
No, but you are given
No.
the option of writing down your whole complaint and giving it, and they can.
No, they force a statement under 161. Section 161 is written in Kannada
Uh-huh.
by the police, and they just take your signature. They say that they insist. And this is why the judiciary never accepts statements under 161. Bansy, let me take your question. You said, when women like this do, what is the business of people to know their background? In a civil matter, it's not necessary for the public to know the background. But once there's a crime,
Okay.
then it is the duty of the public to find out the motive, mens rea, and because of the guilty mind, there is a chain of events which is created by the party, guilty acts, which are the actus rea. So once there is a chain of event, now in a murder case,
Okay.
there is no eyewitness.
Okay.
Because the murder victim will not come forward, say, he's already in the grave, 10 foot down. He can't say, look here, I was murdered yesterday. So it is based on the chain of events. The circumstantial evidence leading to the murder and a clear chain of events is the only thing which establishes a murder case. Now, in most of the cases, police are involved in colluding with high profile accused. Now, let us take Sheena Bora's case itself. 3 years back, the body was
Now,
found in
this case would not have been so big if not for the profiles of these people.
that explains the
If he
delay.
was not Peter, if she was not Indrani, I mean, tell me how many such cases there are which don't even see the light of the day.
Yes, yes.
The media would dismiss it, in a single column, small little piece.
Missing.
That's it.
So the point of law is that the police in Karnataka has already been identified as the most corrupt government agency in India, number one. There is no scientific investigation which is done. They just collect records, take statements and come to a conclusion. Where is the science? Now here in Sheena Bora's case, there's a DNA test of paternity for which we got a High Court order in 2012. The police have contempt of court, forcing us to file another writ petition. Here in Roshni's case, her mother, Agnes Flora, is the person involved in the murder of her own father. She's the legitimate child of that relationship. There is a second child who was born out of adultery with a compounder's family in Gulbarga, who are now practicing as doctors. And to cover the paternity of the illegitimate child, she has murdered her husband. There is a statement which says that adultery leads to murder in many instances. So when there is
I want to ask, in this Sheena's case, what would be the compelling circumstance for someone to bump her off? And you're talking of her own mother. Why will her own mother bump her off?
Because she wants to be a pari. She wants to be an angel in society. She has created a deception that she's a person who has married only once to Mr. Sanjeev Khanna and got a child, Vidhi. So these children which
these illegitimate children,
these two illegitimate children are persona non grata for her. So she has abandoned them and she has created fraudulent birth records whereby the grandparents are shown as parents without a proper adoption deed. Even if people say there is an adoption, there has to be an adoption deed done, and then you cannot change with the birth records.
Okay. Is there a deliberate attempt at trying to throw off people, whoever wants to know the truth, by this person, Miss Indrani, who is otherwise Pari Bora? We slip into a short break on this note.